Well, I'm going to be talking about Masonichip. This is a program that is designed to allegedly collect data of children, which includes a DNA swab, to prevent children from being abducted and supposedly to keep them safe. Now we can see from the website that it's run by the Freemasons, and the first question I have is why Freemasons are suddenly so concerned about child safety. It's almost as if they've taken it upon themselves to now look out for the welfare of all the children in America and Canada and possibly even other parts of the world. But let's have a look at what the website is about, and I'll start by having a look at this poster. It says, what could Masons and the Amber Alert possibly have in common? The Masonichip program consists of 5 major components: digital photographs, digital video, digital fingerprints, vital child information, and a dental bite or intraoral swab for DNA sampling. The digital information is burned onto a CD along with the vital information and provided with the DNA sample in an envelope for you to take home. After each child's information is processed, the data is deleted and erased from the computer using state-of-the-art software. The only item retained by Masonichip is the signed permission slip. Please bring with you the information about your child: height, weight, distinguishing marks and scars, allergies, medications, and all emergency contact names and numbers. The first thing I want to point out is a contradiction, because according to this information, the child is not actually chipped. Very personal information, including DNA swabs and or a dental swab, is taken from this child with the view to identifying the child, but it's called Masonichip. So obviously this is leading to a process whereby these children will definitely be chipped later on with an electronic chip. It's obvious that the data that is being collected is going to be integrated with an RFID chip, which will later on be implanted in these children. Now at this stage, this is a voluntary process and it's free of charge to parents, and it is being promoted throughout schools in the US and Canada. Now I want to take up on the next point, which is this heading: what could Masons and the Amber Alert possibly have in common? Well, I'm going to explain what they have in common. If you look at the police badges in the United States, for example, you will see Masonic symbols all over these badges. Okay, just have a look. New Mexico, New York, North Carolina, North Dakota, Oklahoma, Oregon, South Carolina, West Virginia State Police, Wisconsin, Wyoming. I don't think there's any reason to doubt who runs the police force in America, without a shadow of doubt. That explains the connection. Okay, they've asked the question, so I'm answering it. There is the explanation. Now, you'll see by looking at Google Images, for example, we can see this sheet, which is like the identification sheet for a particular child, which includes their photograph, and it's got Masonic symbolism all over it. The child is fingerprinted. It's got all their vital statistics on this document, which is obviously stored in a computer system. And of course, this represents a complete profile of this child. Now, I want to point something out. When I was a young guy living in South Africa many, many years ago, I remember a time when it was decided that cars needed to have seatbelts fitted, and it was going to become compulsory for every person to wear a seatbelt. But of course, there were a lot of old cars that didn't have seatbelts. You know, in those days it wasn't compulsory, and the cars came out without seatbelts. What they then decided was that every new car that was produced would be fitted with a seatbelt, and if you bought a car that had a fitted seatbelt, you would have to wear the seatbelt from the day that you purchased that car. It would become compulsory from the day you made the purchase. The logic is precisely the same with Masonichip, because let's equate children, young human beings, with a new car. It's obvious that the plan to microchip people is going to start with young people. But of course they're being very disingenuous here, because they are not yet chipping, but they're gathering the data so that they can very easily do the chipping later on with the data already embedded in the microchip, or just electronically uploaded into those chips. So I see exactly the same logic and the same strategy as I did when it became compulsory for cars to have seatbelts. So I came across this old article, 2012, in the Huffington Post. Why are the Freemasons collecting our children's DNA? It says, conspiracy theorists need theorize no more. In pages from a fiction novel brought to life, the strangest twists in popular folklore have been winding through our government corridors. Fabled as a secret society, Freemasons see themselves as an esoteric fraternity, an ancient brotherhood of initiates who are voted into membership for the purpose of sharing enlightenment through the use of exclusive teachings. They are not a religious group, and yet elevated status can be obtained through invitation to the various esteemed rites and the legendary Knights Templar. And it says that full proper title is the United Religious, Military and Masonic Orders of the Temple and of St. John of Jerusalem, Palestine, Rhodes and Malta. It is argued they find their roots in an historical Christian militia which once upon a time nearly bankrupted the Vatican. Despite an effort to distance themselves from politics and religion in modern times, Scandinavian branches to this day will only permit entry of fellow Christian worshippers. Women remain forbidden, although there's good news for slaves and the disabled, who may have overcome discrimination after 1,000 years of human rights progression. Now, before I continue where they give an explanation as to why children are being chipped, or being Masonic chipped, let's put it that way, I want to just expose a few inconsistencies here, because firstly, yes, Masonry is a secret society. Yes, it is an esoteric fraternity, and they do see themselves as an ancient brotherhood of initiates, but it says here they are not a religious group. That is absolutely not true. It is very clear from Masonic writings that in Freemasonry, Lucifer is worshipped and upheld as the true God. It is claimed that Lucifer is the good guy and Jehovah, the God of the Bible, is the bad guy or the evil entity. So they just invert what the Bible teaches. And in fact, Masonry is about what can be called spiritual evolution, where through secret knowledge, man can become a god. So this is back to the Garden of Eden, where Satan himself stood before Adam and Eve and said, you know what, God has tricked you, he's lied, he's tried to deceive you, because he knows that you're actually God, you just don't know it. And you know, from that day forward, every secret society preaches the same deceptive message, that through secret knowledge and rituals, men can become gods or god-men. Now, let me also point out that the Knights Templar and the Knights of Malta are totally connected with the Vatican and Roman Catholicism. They are in fact the hitman of the Roman Catholic Church and the Vatican. This is absolutely clearly established, and it's easy to verify everything that I'm saying. This is also not correct in that women are forbidden. That is not true, because you have co-masonry now, which is Freemasonry for women. Now let's have a look what they say. They say Freemasonry is a fraternal association of men of good and high ideals, but it is not a public association. Private is a more appropriate description than secret, and as with many organizations, certain information is reserved for members only. I wonder why. So why then is an exclusive group collecting our children's DNA with support of police and the government across the USA and Canada? You know them as Masonichip, or perhaps you've been led to believe it was a state and provincial endeavor intended to protect your little ones. They set up fairs, forge partnerships with law enforcement, and even strive to distribute their services through North American public school systems. In Massachusetts, this Freemason program was promoted by CBS News from the steps of the official State House and included their police dog, coincidentally named Mason. Reporters only failed to mention the private nod to those promoting him, or that government had little to do with it. What is Masonichip, you ask? It begins on the surface as a child identification project in case your loved ones are ever to be horrendously abducted. parents are familiar with at-home kits to record their kids' vital information for protection against the greatest of all fears to be inflicted on a family. Normally height, weight, hair and eye colors are recorded, along with a set of fingerprints and hopefully a current photograph. It's just that the good folks at your local Masonic Lodge saw fit to take things further. With advances in technology, they began to offer digital fingerprints, digital imaging, digital video, dental impressions and DNA mouth swabs. This data processing is managed by their proprietary software that's designed to be compatible with local and national law enforcement. This is, after all, a campaign created by police in the Brotherhood regardless of its private funding. A great distinction is made to ensure governments are nothing more than their supporters. Freemasons assert ownership of this project as an integral part of their mission statement. They say, "We, the Freemasons, are the sole sponsor of the Masonic Safety Identification initiatives as developed in our various Masonic Grand Lodge jurisdictions. As such, we schedule the events and coordinate the equipment, materials and volunteers necessary to conduct events. All groups and individuals are welcome to work alongside, but they are not referred as sponsors, but listed and involved as supporters, supporting partners, corporate partners in collaboration with or in cooperation with." They claim their services are superior to what a parent could accomplish at home by recording the children's data personally and providing their own healthcare professionals to collect their DNA samples. They are either hired hands who answer to the Freemasons or members of the fraternity whose history and credentials are protected by the organization. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I have a massive issue here. If it is true that, according to their own admission in this article, Masons are private and they are definitely regarded as a secret society, they claim that this has nothing to do with government initiatives. Okay, but I want to ask this question. If that is true, how then can they be policed in that sense of the word in terms of what they are doing with this data? Who has authorized them to actually make this available to the public if it is not with the cooperation of the government? I think it's absolutely self-evident that this has to be with the permission of governments. Otherwise, it would be impossible for them to do this in schools, to do it on the streets, to collect data, which includes very personal information of these children. It's got to be absolutely clear to anybody looking at this that there's much more behind this than what they claim, and that they are in fact once again being disingenuous by claiming, oh look, this is just our initiative. This has got nothing to do with government. But it just so happens, of course, that they are linking this data in with police forces throughout the USA and Canada. Oh my goodness. What private organization is going to be able to do that? So I absolutely dispute what they're saying here, and it cannot be true. Now, they're using fear-mongering here to basically scare people into wanting their children chipped. They talk about, you know, these children, all these children that go missing, and they really just are doing this to talk to children about safety, and this is all for the benefit of your children and for families. They've got merchandise that promotes their program. They have this equipment that is used in schools as well to further their program. On the website, they tell you a bit about who they are. And they say Masonichip International is a 501c public charity and resource for espousing child safety education and assisting Masonic Safety Identification Program events across North America. We are recognized by the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children and are a featured partner on their Take 25 campaign. Take 25 minutes for child safety. Our voting member, the Conference of Grand Masters of Masons in North America, elects our 11-member board of directors to manage our affairs. So this is totally a Masonic venture. And they are electing directors from within their own ranks to run this program. There's no doubt about that. So if we look then at the next page, they once again are selling the fact that they are here for children. They quote again child abduction statistics, which I'm not going to bother to go into because it's obviously fear-mongering. You can look at this on the website if you want yourself. You can go and search for events. You can request an event in your area, as far as I could see from the website, and you can find events locally in your area in the United States. You can even donate. You can help, of course, promoting the Mark of the Beast if you want to give money towards it, and you can even pledge 25 minutes of your time to once again help roll out this program. Okay, once again, my chip. Take notice how, again, this is all hidden in plain sight. Yes, these are fingerprints, and we've spoken about DNA being collected. Okay, but the fact is, this information is profiling of children, and it is going to go into an RFID chip in future, without a shadow of doubt. My chip. And very, very clever, because this chip, they're saying, you know, child identification program. But then why didn't they call it CIP? You know, very obvious. It's very obvious what is going on here. Helping to keep families safer. Oh my goodness. Anything but. And here is the equipment, the all-in-one child ID system that is used in the schools to do the profiling. Okay? Masonichip. This is where the program is already being rolled out all across America. The red sections are all participating in this program already in the United States. Well, this is where your child can be ID'd, profiled, and have a barbecue at the same time. Isn't that wonderful? Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to prove something to you about Masonry, and I want you to go to my website. Go to PropheticAlert.net. PropheticAlert.net, and you can go to the homepage, and if you type in the search window Mason, just type in Mason, hit enter, some of my blogs about Freemasonry will come up, and I want you to select the Secrets of Freemasonry Revealed. And I want you to watch the video on this page, which is this one here, and I want you to read the summary that I've placed below that video, and I want you to satisfy yourself as to what Freemasonry is really all about. And I'm going to, in this video, prove that Masons worship Lucifer. And you have to then conclude, when you've seen this, that if you believe that Lucifer is the good guy, well, then you're going to see Masonichip as a very good thing. If you believe that Lucifer, according to the Bible, is evil, a liar, a deceiver, and a murderer, as the Bible describes him, then you're going to have to come to a different conclusion. But you're not going to be able to sit in between, because the link between Masonry and Masonichip has to be very, very disconcerting. And I'm just going to close this short video with the scripture. This is from Revelation 13. And I'm going to go down to verse 16. And this is where the man of perdition, the Antichrist, will be revealed before Christ returns on the earth. And it says in verse 16, "And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666.
Now the United Nations is partnering with a private company to offer a solution, a new, quote, universal, end of quote, identification system that will comply with the United Nations sustainability goal of getting, quote, legal, end of quote, biometric IDs that include iris scans, photographs, and fingerprints, quote, into the hands of everyone in the world by the year 2030, end of quote. It offers hope for the UN Sustainable Development Goal of getting legal ID into the hands of everyone in the world by the year 2030 in its Identification for Development ID4D initiative. Accenture.com. Accenture helps UNHCR deliver a biometric identity management system for registering and verifying the identities of displaced persons around the world. Biometric Identity Management System, BIMS. They are promoting this tracking as a good thing. For refugees, the system gives them a permanent identity record. Quote, "I can be someone now," end of quote, explained one Chadian refugee. Quote, I am registered globally with the UN, and you'll always know who I am." End of quote. The United Nations is prepared to introduce the mark of the beast for the world. Obama is leading the sustainable development, and the solution for the sustainable development globally is the mark of the beast. Anybody who does not go along with the mark of the beast will be targeted as an anti-government terrorist. CNN.com. Department of Justice pivots from ISIS to U.S. anti-government groups with new position. October 15, 2015. Domestic terror groups pose a greater threat to America than ISIS or Al-Qaeda, a Justice Department official said Wednesday. To help combat them, the department has created a new council that will coordinate the investigation and prosecution of anti-government and hate groups. Assistant General John Carlin, who oversees national security at the Justice Department, announced the new position, the Domestic Terrorism Council, following a number of violent attacks or plots against the U.S. that he said were motivated by, quote, anti-government views, racism, bigotry, and anarchy, and other despicable beliefs, end of quote. The world is going to turn against us Christians who do not take the mark of the beast. We will be listed as terrorists. Mark chapter 13, verse 11 through 13 says, "But when they shall lead you and deliver you up, take no thought beforehand what ye shall speak, neither do ye premeditate. But whatsoever shall be given you in that hour, that speak ye. For it is not ye that speak, but the Holy Ghost. Now the brother shall betray the brother to death, and the father the son. And children shall rise up against their parents, and shall cause them to be put to death. And ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake. But he that shall endure to the end, the same shall be saved." We are told to overcome, and do not take the mark of the beast even unto death. For great is the reward of those who overcome the mark of the beast. Revelation chapter 20 verse 4. "And I saw thrones, and they that sat on them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Jesus, and for the word of God, and which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads, or in their hands. And they lived and reigned with Christ 1,000 years." God is forewarned of the judgment for getting the mark of the beast, when it is soon revealed for all. Revelation chapter 14 verse 9 and 10. "And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, If any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone, in the presence of the holy angels, and in the presence of the Lamb."